Kira pressed herself deeper into the shadows between the two buildings. The cold wind cut through her thin clothing like knives. She had never felt cold like this before. Her homeworld had been warm, the air thick and comfortable. Earth was different. Earth was cruel. 3 days had passed since she slipped away from the orbital station. 3 days since she realized that the refugee processing center had no room for her, no answers for her, and no hope to offer. The human officials had been polite but firm. Come back in 6 months. Maybe longer. They gave her a number to call and sent her away. But Kira had nowhere to go back to. Her planet was ash and smoke. Her family was dead. The Draxor Collective had made sure of that. She pulled her arms tighter around her body. Her stomach twisted with hunger. The last time she ate was 2 days ago when she found some discarded food behind a restaurant. It had made her sick, but she ate it anyway. Humans could eat almost anything, she had heard. Their bodies were made for survival. Hers was not. The street in front of her was quiet now. Evening had settled over the neighborhood. Lights glowed warm and yellow in the windows of the houses. Kira could see humans moving inside their homes. Families. Safe and warm and fed. She tried to stand, but her legs shook. The world spun around her. She leaned against the brick wall and slowly slid down to the ground. Maybe she should have stayed at the station. Maybe she should have waited the 6 months. Even if it meant sleeping in corridors and begging for food scraps from other refugees. But she had been scared. Scared and alone and desperate. Her translator device buzzed against her chest. It was breaking. The small machine had been damaged during her escape from her homeworld. Now it worked only half the time. She could understand some human words, but not all of them. Enough to know she was not wanted here. Kira closed her eyes. She was so tired, so cold. Her silver skin felt brittle in the freezing air. Back home, her people were known for their grace and their art. They were scholars and poets. They had never learned to fight. That was why the Draxor had destroyed them so easily. Footsteps echoed on the sidewalk. Kira's eyes snapped open. A human man walked toward her, carrying bags in both hands. She shrank back against the wall, trying to make herself invisible. Humans were dangerous. Everyone in the galaxy knew that. They came from a death world where everything tried to kill them. They were strong and violent and unpredictable. The man stopped walking. He had seen her. Kira held her breath. She waited for him to shout or call for authorities or simply walk away. That was what most beings did when they saw someone like her. The desperate. The unwanted. Instead, the man put down his bags. He took a step closer. "Hey," he said. His voice was gentle. "Are you okay?" Kira's translator caught the words. She understood them but could not answer. Her voice would not work. Fear had frozen it in her throat. The man crouched down to her level. He did not come too close. He stayed a careful distance away. Kira could see his face now. He had dark hair and kind eyes. There were lines around those eyes, the kind that came from smiling often. He wore simple clothes, a jacket over a shirt and pants. Working clothes. "You're freezing," the man said. He started to take off his jacket. "Here. Take this." Kira stared at him. Why was he helping her? Humans did not help aliens. They barely helped each other. That was what the galactic news feeds always said. Humans were territorial and aggressive. They fought wars over invisible lines on their planet. They could not even agree among themselves. The man held out his jacket. When Kira did not take it, he moved slowly forward and draped it over her shoulders. The jacket was warm. It smelled like engine oil and something else. Something clean and safe. "When did you last eat?" the man asked. Kira's translator buzzed. She caught the word, eat. Her stomach twisted again. She held up 2 fingers. 2 days. Maybe he would understand. The man's face changed. His eyes grew sad and angry at the same time. Not angry at her. Angry for her. "Come on," he said. He stood up and offered his hand. "My place is just down the street. I've got food. Warm food. You can eat something, okay?" Kira looked at his hand. This could be a trap. Humans were clever. They might seem kind and then turn cruel. She had heard the stories. But what choice did she have? She was dying, here, in this alley. At least if she went with him, she might eat one more time before the end. She reached out and took his hand. The man's grip was strong but careful. He pulled her to her feet slowly, letting her find her balance. When she swayed, he steadied her with a hand on her arm. "I'm Danny," he said, pointing to himself. "Danny Martinez. What's your name?" "Kira," she managed to whisper. Her translator turned it into sounds he could understand. "Kira," Danny repeated. He smiled. It was a real smile, not the fake kind officials gave. "Nice to meet you. Let's get you somewhere warm." He picked up his bags with one hand and kept the other near Kira in case she fell. They walked slowly down the street. Every step felt like climbing a mountain. Kira's vision blurred and cleared and blurred again. She focused on putting one foot in front of the other. Danny talked as they walked. His voice was steady and calm. Kira caught some words through her failing translator. Something about his daughter. Something about dinner. Something about it being okay. Everything would be okay. They stopped in front of a small apartment building. Danny helped her up 3 stairs to a door. He pulled out keys and unlocked it. "My daughter's inside," Danny said. "She's 10. She's good, kid. Don't be scared if she's surprised, okay? We don't get many visitors." Kira nodded. She could barely stand now. The warmth from Danny's jacket and the promise of food had used up the last of her strength. Her body knew safety was close and had decided to stop fighting. Danny opened the door. "Sophie?" he called into the apartment. "I'm home, and we have a guest." Kira heard a young voice answer from somewhere inside. Footsteps ran toward them. Then a small human girl appeared in the hallway. She had the same dark hair as Danny and the same kind eyes. Sophie stopped when she saw Kira. Her mouth opened in surprise. "Dad?" Sophie said. "Is she an alien?" "Yeah, she is," Danny said. He guided Kira inside and closed the door behind them. "And she needs help. Think you can set another place at the table?" Calm. Calm stayed. 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 Calm stages. Sophie stared at Kira for a long moment. Then she nodded. "I'll get the soup bowls," Sophie said. Kira felt tears on her face. She did not remember when she started crying. Danny led her to a couch and helped her sit down. He wrapped a blanket around her shoulders, over his jacket. "You're safe now," Danny said. "I promise. You're safe." Kira wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that she had found kindness in the last place she expected it. In the home of humans. The dangerous ones. The violent ones. The ones who were supposed to be monsters. But the man who stood in front of her was no monster. He was just a father who had seen someone in need and decided to help. Maybe the galaxy did not know humans as well as it thought. The soup was the best thing Kira had ever tasted. It was simple, just vegetables and broth. But it was warm and filled the empty space inside her. She held the bowl with both hands, letting the heat sink into her cold fingers. Danny sat across from her at the small kitchen table. Sophie sat next to her father, watching Kira with wide, curious eyes. The girl had brought extra blankets and a pillow without being asked. She had also brought her school tablet. "Your translator is broken," Sophie said. She pointed to the device on Kira's chest. "I can hear it buzzing weird." Kira nodded. She understood most of the words. Her translator was dying. Soon she would not be able to talk to anyone at all. Sophie looked at her father. "Can I try to fix it?" Danny raised his eyebrows. "You know how to fix alien tech?" "No," Sophie admitted. "But maybe I can find something online. People fix stuff on the internet all the time." Danny smiled. "Give it a shot. But finish your soup first." They ate, in comfortable silence. Kira took small sips, letting her body adjust to having food again. She watched the humans across from her. Father and daughter, they moved around each other with easy familiarity. Danny would pass Sophie the bread before she asked. Sophie would refill her father's water glass when it was half empty. They were a team, A family. Kira's chest ached. She had a family once. Her mother taught music. Her father worked with children. Her younger brother loved to draw. They were all gone now, turned to ash when the Draxor ships fired on their city. "Hey," Danny said softly. "You okay?" Kira realized she was crying again. She wiped at her face with the blanket. "Sorry," she whispered. "Don't be sorry," Danny said. "You've been through hell. You're allowed to cry." After dinner, Sophie spread out papers and her tablet on the table. She took Kira's translator and examined it carefully. Her small fingers moved over the device with surprising confidence. "It's not totally broken," Sophie announced. "Just some loose connections and a cracked power cell. I think I can stabilize it." Danny cleared the dishes while Sophie worked. Kira watched the girl's focused face. She was young but smart. Her hands were steady and sure. "Where did you learn this?" Kira asked. The translator caught her words this time. "School," Sophie said without looking up. "And my dad. He fixes cars and machines. He teaches me stuff. She's got better hands than me," Danny called from the kitchen. "Smaller fingers for the tiny parts." Sophie grinned at that. She connected 2 wires, and the translator stopped buzzing. The static in Kira's ears cleared. Suddenly, she could hear properly again. Every word came through clean and perfect. "Better?" Sophie asked. "Much better," Kira said. Thank you so much." Sophie blushed with pride. She handed the translator back. "The power cell is still cracked. It'll last maybe a few weeks, but it should work fine until then." Danny came back to the table with mugs of hot tea. He set one in front of Kira. The smell was sweet and comforting. "So," Danny said gently, "do you want to tell us what happened?" "You don't have to. But it might help." Kira wrapped her hands around the warm mug. Where should she start? With her planet? With the war? With the desperate escape that brought her to Earth? "My people are called Valarii," she began. "We're from a world far from here. We're not fighters, we're artists and teachers and builders. We never had armies or weapons. We thought that being peaceful would keep us safe." She paused, took a breath. "We were wrong. The Draxor Collective came 6 months ago. They wanted our planet for its resources. They did not ask. They did not negotiate. They just attacked. City after city. They killed anyone who resisted. They killed anyone who tried to run. They killed everyone." Sophie's hand moved to cover her mouth. Danny's face had gone hard and sad. "How did you escape?" Danny asked. "The Galactic Council finally sent evacuation ships. But there was only room for some of us. I got on a ship because I am young. My family made me go. They said I had to survive. I had to carry our memory forward." Kira's voice broke. "I was on the ship when the Draxor destroyed my city. I watched it happen from space. I watched my home burn." "I'm so sorry," Sophie whispered. Kira took a shaky breath and continued. "The ship brought us to the orbital station above Earth. They said Earth takes refugees. They said humans would help. But when I got there, the processing center was full. Too many refugees from too many wars. They told me to wait 6 months. 6 months with no money, no home, no food." "So you came down to the planet," Danny said. "I did not know what else to do," Kira said. "I thought maybe I could find work. Maybe I could survive until the 6 months passed. But I have no documentation. No human money. No understanding of how things work here. I was lost. And then I got so hungry and so cold." "Earth's colder than your planet?" Sophie asked. "Much colder. My people need warmth. We come from a place where the sun always shines and the air is thick and moist. This world is harsh. I heard humans call it a death world. I understand why now." Danny shook his head. "It's autumn here. Winter will be much worse. You can't survive outside." "I know," Kira said quietly. "I was dying in that alley. I knew it. I had accepted it." "Well, you're not dying now," Danny said firmly. "You're staying here until we figure things out." Kira looked up sharply. "I cannot ask you to do that. Helping undocumented aliens is illegal. You could get in trouble. You have a daughter to think about. I am thinking about her, Danny said. He looked at Sophie. I'm thinking about what kind of world I want her to grow up in. One where we walk past people who need help, or one where we do the right thing, even when it's hard. Sophie nodded. Kira can stay in the spare room, the one we use for storage. That's settled then, Danny said. Tomorrow I'll start making calls. There has to be a way to get you proper refugee status. I'll find lawyers, advocacy groups, anyone who can help. But tonight, you rest. You're safe here. Kira felt something break open inside her chest. Hope. She had not felt hope in so long. These humans, these supposedly dangerous, violent creatures from a death world, were showing her more kindness than she had ever expected. Why? She asked. Why help me? You don't know me. I'm not even your species. Danny was quiet for a moment. He looked at his daughter, then back at Kira. A few years back, Sophie's mom left us, he said. Just up and decided she wanted a different life. Left me with a 5-year-old and a broken heart. We had some rough months. Really rough. We almost lost this apartment. Almost lost everything. He reached over and squeezed Sophie's hand. Our neighbor, Mrs. Chen, she helped us. Watched Sophie when I had to work double shifts, brought us food, never asked for anything back. Just helped because she saw we needed it. She told me something I never forgot. She said the world is full of people walking past each other's pain. But it doesn't have to be that way. One person can change that. One act of kindness can ripple out. Danny looked at Kira. When I saw you in that alley, I saw someone in pain. Someone who needed help. That's all that mattered. Not what planet you're from, or what species you are, just that you needed help, and I could give it. Kira felt tears streaming down her face again. But these were different tears. Not tears of grief or fear, tears of gratitude and relief. The galaxy thinks humans are monsters, she said. They say you're violent and dangerous. They say Earth is so harsh that it made you cruel. Some of us are, Danny admitted. Humans can be terrible to each other. We've got a lot of problems. But we've also got this. The ability to see someone suffering and choose to help. That's human too. Sophie yawned suddenly. Danny checked his watch. Past your bedtime, kiddo. School tomorrow. But Kira needs the spare room cleaned out. Sophie protested. We'll do it together tomorrow after school, Danny said. Tonight Kira can sleep on the couch. Right? Kira nodded. The couch is perfect. Better than perfect. Sophie hugged her father goodnight, then surprised Kira by hugging her too. I'm glad you're here, Sophie said. I'm glad Dad found you. Me too, Kira whispered. After Sophie went to bed, Danny brought more blankets and a pillow. He showed Kira where the bathroom was and left a clean towel for her. If you need anything, my room is down the hall, he said. Don't hesitate to knock. Thank you, Danny, Kira said. For everything. I don't know how to repay you. You don't repay kindness, Danny said with a small smile. You pass it forward. That's how it works. He turned off most of the lights and said goodnight. Kira lay down on the couch, wrapped in warm blankets, her stomach full for the first time in days. She could hear the quiet sounds of the apartment settling, the hum of a refrigerator, the distant sound of water in pipes, normal sounds, safe sounds. She thought about everything she had been told about humans, about their violence and their territorial nature, about how Deathworlders were hard and cruel because their planet made them that way. But here in this small apartment, she had found the opposite. She had found a father teaching his daughter compassion. She had found a family willing to risk legal trouble to help a stranger. She had found warmth and food and kindness. Maybe Earth was a death world. Maybe humans were dangerous. But maybe, Kira thought as she drifted to sleep, they were also capable of incredible gentleness. Maybe surviving harsh conditions did not make them cruel. Maybe it made them understand suffering, made them want to protect others from it. Maybe the galaxy had gotten humans all wrong. 2 weeks passed like a dream. Kira woke each morning to the smell of coffee and breakfast. She helped Sophie with homework, and learned about Earth history. She spent afternoons in Danny's garage workshop, learning how human machines worked. The mechanical skills came naturally to her. Her hands, made for delicate art, adapted well to delicate repairs. Danny taught her about engines and circuits. He showed her how to diagnose problems by sound and touch. He was patient when she made mistakes and proud when she succeeded. Sophie taught her about human entertainment, introducing her to movies and music and books. The girl had an endless curiosity about Valari culture, asking questions about Kira's homeworld that made both of them sad and happy at the same time. Kira felt herself healing. Not just her body, which grew stronger with regular meals and warmth. Her spirit was healing too. The constant fear that had gripped her since the Draxor attack was slowly fading. She laughed again. She slept without nightmares. She began to imagine a future. But the outside world was not as kind as this small apartment. On the 15th day, Danny came home from work, looking worried. He had spent his lunch break researching refugee assistance programs. What he found was not encouraging. The system is completely overwhelmed, he told Kira that evening, after Sophie went to bed. There are thousands of refugees waiting for processing. The lawyers I contacted said it could take a year or more. And that's if everything goes perfectly. I understand, Kira said quietly. I should leave. I'm putting you in danger. You're not going anywhere, Danny said firmly. We'll figure this out. I just need more time. But time was running out faster than either of them knew. The next afternoon, while Danny was at work and Sophie was at school, a government vehicle pulled up outside the apartment building. Kira saw it from the window, and her blood went cold. 2 officers in uniform got out. Immigration enforcement. She grabbed her translator and the small bag of belongings Danny had bought her. She could run. She could hide. But where would she go? Before she could decide, there was a knock at the door. Immigration Services, a woman's voice called. We're looking for Danny Martinez. Kira held her breath. She moved quietly to the back bedroom and closed the door. Her heart hammered in her chest. Through the door, she heard the woman knock again. Mr. Martinez? We have reports of an undocumented Valarii in this area. We need to ask you some questions. Mr. Martinez Valarii. Silence. Then footsteps moving away. Kira waited in the darkness of the bedroom, hardly breathing. After what felt like forever, she heard a vehicle start and drive away. She emerged from the bedroom on shaking legs. They had not broken in. They had not searched the apartment. But they would be back. And next time, Danny would be home. Next time he would have to lie to their faces or tell the truth and face the consequences. Kira was pacing the apartment when Danny came home that evening. She told him what happened. His face went pale. Agent Gray, he muttered. That's who's been assigned to the district. She's thorough. She'll keep looking. I have to leave, Kira said. Tonight, before they come back. No, Danny said. We just need to be careful. I'll talk to her if she comes back. I'll tell her I haven't seen anything. You'll lie to the government for me? I'll do what I have to do to keep you safe. Sophie came out of her room. She had heard everything. What if they arrest Dad? What happens to us then? Danny knelt down to his daughter's level. That's not going to happen. I'm being careful. We'll all be okay. But the fear had returned to their little sanctuary. That night, everyone slept poorly. The attack came at 2 a.m. Kira woke to the sound of breaking glass. She sat up on the couch, heart racing. A figure moved in the darkness near the window. A large figure. Too large to be human. Terror flooded through her. She knew that shape, that silhouette. Draxor. The creature turned toward her. Its eyes glowed faintly in the darkness. It spoke in the harsh, clicking language of its species. Kira's translator converted the words. Found you, little Valarii. Did you think you could hide on this primitive planet? Did you think the witnesses would be allowed to live? Kira tried to scream, but no sound came out. The Draxor hunter moved toward her with terrible speed. Its clawed hand reached for her throat. Then Danny was there. He came out of the hallway in his sleep clothes, moving fast. He carried a heavy wrench from his workshop. He did not hesitate, did not pause to assess the situation. He just acted. The wrench caught the Draxor on the side of its head with a solid crack. The creature stumbled sideways, more surprised than hurt. It turned toward this new threat. "Sophie, run!" Danny shouted. "Get to the neighbors! Call the police!" Kira heard Sophie's door slam open, heard the girl's footsteps running. The Draxor moved to block her path, but Danny threw himself at the creature, driving it backward. The hunter was twice Danny's size. Its muscles were dense and powerful. Its natural armor could stop most blades. It had been engineered for combat. Danny was a mechanic, a single father, a normal human. But humans from Earth learned to fight against the odds. They learned young that size did not always determine the winner. Danny used the wrench like a club, striking fast and hard at joints and vulnerable spots. When the Draxor grabbed for him, he twisted away. When it lunged, he ducked under its reach. He fought like someone who had everything to lose. The Draxor landed a blow that sent Danny crashing into the wall. Kira heard bones crack. Danny cried out in pain but did not stay down. He rolled to the side as the creature's foot came down where his head had been. He grabbed a lamp and smashed it into the Draxor's face. "Kira," Danny gasped. "The kitchen. Get the torch." Kira's body unfroze. She ran to the kitchen and grabbed Danny's welding torch from where he kept his tools. She had watched him use it in the workshop. She knew how it worked. She turned back to see the Draxor had Danny pinned against the wall. Its clawed hand was at his throat. Danny's face was turning red. His feet kicked uselessly against the creature's armored body. Kira did not think. She just moved. She ignited the torch and jabbed it at the Draxor's back. The flame bit through the armor with a hiss. The creature roared and released Danny. Spinning toward her, she stabbed with the torch again, aiming for its eyes. The hunter swatted her aside. She hit the floor hard, the torch flying from her hand. The Draxor advanced on her, murder in its glowing eyes. Then Danny was there again. He had found a kitchen knife. It would not pierce the armor, but he drove it into the gap at the creature's neck joint. The Draxor screamed. It reached back and threw Danny across the room, but Danny had weakened it. Black blood flowed from the wound. The creature stumbled. Kira saw Danny grab the welding torch from where it had fallen. He stood up, swaying, one arm hanging useless at his side. "You picked the wrong family," Danny said through gritted teeth. He turned the torch to maximum and walked forward. The Draxor tried to fight, but it was wounded and off balance. Danny drove the torch into its neck wound and held it there. The creature thrashed and screamed. The smell of burning flesh filled the apartment. Finally, the Draxor collapsed. It lay on the floor, breathing hard, unable to move. Danny dropped the torch. He slumped against the wall, holding his broken arm. Blood ran down his face from a cut on his forehead. His breathing was labored. "Kira?" he asked. "You okay?" "Yes," she managed to say. "You saved me. You fought a Draxor hunter. They're trained killers. You should be dead." "Yeah, well," Danny said with a pained smile. "Nobody threatens my family, not even alien assassins." Sirens wailed in the distance. Sophie burst back through the door with two neighbors. The neighbors stopped and stared at the scene. At the unconscious alien on the floor. At Danny bleeding and broken. At Kira huddled against the wall. "Sweet Jesus," one of the neighbors whispered. The police arrived minutes later. Then paramedics. Then, inevitably, Agent Linda Gray from Immigration Services. Gray looked at the wrecked apartment, at the Draxor hunter in restraints, at Danny being treated for his injuries, at Kira standing in the corner, Sophie holding her hand. "Mr. Martinez," Gray said, "we need to talk." "I know," Danny said. He looked at Kira. "But before you arrest anyone, you need to understand something. This Draxor came here to kill Kira. She's a witness to war crimes on her planet. The Draxor Collective is hunting down refugees to silence them. That's why she's here. That's why she needs protection." Gray looked at Kira, really looked at her for the first time. She saw the fear. The exhaustion. The trauma. She saw a young person who had lost everything and was still fighting to survive. Is this true? Gray asked Kira. Yes, Kira said. My people were destroyed. The ones who escaped are being hunted. I came to Earth because I thought I could disappear here. I thought I could hide. But they found me anyway. Gray was quiet for a long moment. She looked at Danny again. You harbored an undocumented alien, she said. I helped someone who needed help, Danny replied. If that's a crime, then arrest me. But make sure someone takes care of Kira first. And Sophie. She needs a guardian if I go to jail. Sophie started to cry. Kira put her arm around the girl. Gray shook her head. She looked tired suddenly. Tired and sad. Nobody's getting arrested tonight, she said. This is bigger than housing violations. We have an alien assassin on Earth soil. That's a galactic treaty violation. The council needs to be notified, and this girl needs proper protection. She pulled out her phone and made several calls. Kira could not follow all the conversations, but she heard words like asylum, witness protection, and diplomatic incident. Danny was taken to the hospital with a broken arm and cracked ribs. Sophie and Kira went with him. Gray came too, making more calls from the hospital waiting room. As dawn broke over the city, Kira sat between Danny and Sophie in a hospital room. Danny's arm was in a cast. He was full of pain medication but insisted on staying awake. Some night, he said quietly. You could have died, Kira said. You should have let it take me. You should have protected Sophie and stayed safe. Sophie was safe. The neighbors had her. And I couldn't let that thing hurt you. You're family now. Family protects family. Even when family is an alien from another world? Especially then, Danny said. He smiled despite the pain. Someone has to teach the galaxy that humans aren't all bad. And Kira took his good hand and squeezed it. This man had fought a trained killer with nothing but a wrench and a welding torch. He had risked his life without hesitation. The galaxy called humans dangerous. They called them violent. The galaxy was right. But it misunderstood why. Humans were not violent for cruelty. They were fierce in protection of those they loved. That made all the difference. The news spread fast. By morning, reporters crowded outside the hospital. A human mechanic had fought off an alien assassin to protect a refugee. The story was too good to ignore. Agent Gray tried to control the situation, but information leaked anyway. Someone at the police station talked to a journalist. Someone at the hospital took a photo. By noon, Danny's face was on every news channel. The headline read, Single dad fights alien hunter, saves refugee. Gray came into the hospital room looking frustrated. We need to move you. All three of you. The media circus is getting out of control. Where would we go? Danny asked. His arm was bandaged and his ribs were wrapped tight. Every movement caused pain, but he tried not to show it in front of Sophie. Safe house for now, Gray said. Until we sort out the legal situation. And believe me, the situation is complicated. She sat down in the chair by the window. She looked like she had not slept in 2 days. The Draxor that attacked you is currently in federal custody. It's claiming diplomatic immunity as a bounty hunter, operating under contract. But here's the problem. The Draxor Collective has treaties with Earth. They buy our resources and technology. If we push too hard on this, there could be economic consequences. So they're just going to let it go? Kira asked quietly. Let it go free to hunt more of my people? I didn't say that, Gray replied. I'm saying it's complicated. Politics always are. Danny shifted in his bed. What about Kira's status? She's clearly in danger. That has to count for something. It does. I've been in contact with the Refugee Services Division. Your case has been escalated. They're fast-tracking Kira's asylum application. But there's the matter of you harboring her for 2 weeks without reporting it. So I'm getting charged? Gray was quiet for a moment. The department is under pressure to prosecute. You knowingly housed an undocumented alien. That's a clear violation. But there's also significant public interest in this case. The The story is everywhere. People are calling you a hero. That creates political complications. I don't care about being a hero, Danny said. I care about keeping Kira and Sophie safe. I know, Gray said. She almost smiled. That's why you're making my job difficult. It would be easier if you were actually a criminal. Sophie, who had been quiet through all of this, suddenly spoke up. Are you going to separate us? Is Kira going to have to leave? Gray looked at the young girl. I'm trying to prevent that. But I need you all to cooperate with the process. That means interviews, statements, possibly testimony if this goes to court. We'll do whatever you need, Danny said. The next 3 days were exhausting. Lawyers came and went. Immigration officials asked the same questions over and over. Kira told her story so many times that the words stopped feeling real. The Draxor attack on her planet, the evacuation, the desperate weeks hiding on Earth, Danny's kindness, the hunter finding her. Sophie gave her statement too. She described how her father taught her to help people in need, how Kira had become like a sister to her, how the Draxor hunter had tried to kill their family. Her simple, honest words carried more weight than any legal argument. On the 4th day, something unexpected happened. The Valari government in exile, operating from a refugee fleet in neutral space, made an official statement. They thanked Earth for protecting Kira. They confirmed that Draxor hunters were systematically eliminating Valari witnesses. They offered to sponsor Kira's asylum application and provide testimony about the genocide on her homeworld. The political calculus changed overnight. Suddenly, this was not just about one refugee. It was about Earth's relationship with the Valari remnant government. It was about standing against the Draxor Collective's intimidation tactics. It was about human values on a galactic stage. More importantly, the public had made its opinion clear. Social media exploded with support for Danny and Kira. People donated money to a legal defense fund that someone had started without asking. Neighbors and strangers alike sent messages of support. The story had touched something deep in human consciousness. The idea of protecting the vulnerable, of standing up to bullies, of doing the right thing even when it was hard. Gray came back to the safe house with news. She looked different, less tired, almost hopeful. The district attorney has decided not to prosecute, she said. Given the circumstances and the public interest, they've determined that charging you would not serve justice. Danny let out a breath he had been holding for days. Really? Really, you're clear. And Kira, your asylum application has been approved on an emergency basis. You're now a legal resident of Earth under refugee protection status. Kira felt her knees go weak. Sophie grabbed her hand and squeezed tight. I can stay? Kira whispered. You can stay, Gray confirmed. The Valari government vouched for you. Your testimony about what happened on your homeworld has been documented, and there's the small matter of a Draxor hunter breaking multiple galactic treaties by attacking you on Earth soil. The diplomatic fallout is still being worked out. But you're safe now. Protected. Danny smiled despite the pain from his ribs. What about the Draxor? The one that attacked us? Being deported to stand trial at the Galactic Council. Turns out when you attack someone on Earth, you face Earth's justice system first. And we don't take kindly to assassins, alien or otherwise. Gray pulled out a folder and handed it to Danny. There's something else. The Galactic Aid Organization has been watching this case. They want to offer you a position. A position doing what? Danny asked. Cultural liaison. Helping refugee families navigate human systems. You have skills they need, practical knowledge, and you've demonstrated genuine compassion for aliens in need. The job comes with a salary, benefits, and training. Interested? Danny looked at Kira, then at Sophie. What do you think? I think you'd be good at it, Sophie said. You're good at helping people. I agree, Kira added. You understood what I needed before I could even ask for it. Other refugees would be lucky to have your help. Danny turned back to Gray. Okay, I'm interested. Let's talk details. Over the next week, the pieces fell into place. Danny accepted the liaison position. His apartment building management agreed to let Kira stay as an official resident once repairs were completed. The community rallied around them, offering support and supplies to fix the damage from the fight. Sophie went back to school and became something of a celebrity. The girl who befriended an alien. The daughter of the hero mechanic, she handled the attention with her father's humble grace, redirecting questions to the larger issue of helping refugees. Kira began the process of officially enrolling in vocational training. She wanted to study engineering. Danny's lessons had awakened something in her. The precision and logic of machines made sense in a way that art no longer did. Her world of art and poetry was ash, but she could build something new here. Something practical and useful. Agent Gray surprised everyone by becoming a regular visitor. She brought paperwork at first, but soon she was just dropping by to check on them. One evening she stayed for dinner. "You changed how I see this job," she told Danny over coffee. "I always followed the rules, did everything by the book. But watching you, seeing what real protection looks like, it made me realize the rules should serve people, not the other way around." "So, what are you going to do differently?" Danny asked. "I'm transferring to the Refugee Assistance Division. Someone needs to reform that broken system from the inside. Might as well be me." Good," Danny said. "We need more people like you in positions like that." Gray smiled. "I learned from the best." 3 weeks after the attack, a small ceremony was held at the community center. The Valarii government in exile sent a representative to formally thank Danny for protecting Kira. Local officials gave speeches about community values and standing up for the vulnerable. Reporters crowded around, asking questions. Danny stood at the podium with his arm still in a cast. Sophie stood beside him, holding Kira's hand. He looked uncomfortable with all the attention but spoke clearly when his turn came. "I'm not a hero," he said. "I'm just a dad who saw someone in trouble and decided to help. That's not heroic. That's just being human. At least, that's what being human should be." He gestured to Kira. "This is the real story. Not me fighting some alien, but Kira surviving. Kira being brave enough to escape a war. Being strong enough to keep going when everything was taken from her. Being willing to trust a stranger, even when she had every reason not to." He paused, looking out at the crowd. "The galaxy thinks humans are dangerous because we come from a harsh planet. Maybe that's true. But Earth didn't make us cruel. It taught us to survive. It taught us to adapt. And it taught us to recognize suffering because we've all faced it. That's what makes humans strong. Not our ability to fight. Our ability to care." The crowd applauded. Kira wiped tears from her eyes. Sophie squeezed her hand tighter. After the ceremony, as they walked back to the car, Sophie asked a question. "Dad, do you think there are other aliens out there who need help? Like Kira did?" Danny looked at his daughter, then at Kira, then back at Sophie. "Probably," he said. "The galaxy's a big place. Lots of people fall through the cracks. Then we should help them," Sophie said simply. "Right?" "Right," Danny agreed. Kira felt warmth spread through her chest. She had come to Earth desperate and alone, expecting nothing but cold indifference. Instead, she found a family. She found humans who proved that strength and kindness could exist together, that the most fearsome warriors could also be the gentlest protectors. The galaxy saw humans as dangerous, as violent deathworlders who survived where others would perish. They were right about that. But they missed the other half of the truth. Humans were fierce in protection of those they loved. They were relentless in defense of the weak. They could not walk past suffering without trying to help. That made them dangerous to predators and cruel empires. But to those who needed shelter, who were hopeless and hungry, who had nowhere else to turn, humans were the safest place in the galaxy. That was what Kira had learned. That was what she would carry forward. Whatever the future held. Earth had given her more than food and warmth. It had given her hope. And it had given her family. Not bad for a planet the galaxy called a death world. 3 months had changed everything. Danny's new position at the Galactic Aid Organization kept him busy but satisfied. He worked out of a community center in the city. helping refugee families navigate the complex maze of human bureaucracy. His practical approach and genuine care made him effective in ways that surprised even the organization's directors. He did not just process paperwork. He listened to stories. He understood that behind every form was a person with trauma and hope and fear. The job paid better than the mechanic shop, enough that Danny could afford a slightly larger apartment, one with 3 bedrooms instead of 2. Sophie had her own room. Kira had her own room. And Danny finally had space to breathe. Kira stood in the kitchen preparing dinner. She had learned to cook human food over the past months, combining Earth recipes with Valari techniques. Tonight she was making pasta with a sauce that blended tomatoes and a spice from her homeworld that she had managed to find at a specialty shop. The smell filled the apartment with warmth. Sophie sat at the table doing homework. She was working on a project about immigration and refugee experiences. She had interviewed Kira extensively, recording her story for the school presentation. The teacher had been so impressed that she asked Sophie to present it to other classes as well. "Kira," Sophie said without looking up from her tablet. "How do you spell persecution?" Kira spelled it out. Her English had improved dramatically. Danny and Sophie spoke to her constantly, correcting mistakes gently and teaching her new words. She could hold full conversations now without her translator struggling. She even understood jokes most of the time. The door opened and Danny came in carrying groceries. His cast had come off 2 weeks ago and he was back to full mobility. He set the bags on the counter and kissed Sophie on the head as he passed. "Smells amazing in here," he said. "Is that the Valari spice?" "It is," Kira confirmed. "I thought we could try it in the pasta sauce." "You're going to spoil us with this cooking," Danny said with a grin. "We'll never want regular food again." They ate dinner together as they did every evening. It had become a ritual, a time to share stories from the day and plans for tomorrow. Sophie talked about her school project. Danny described a new family he was helping, a group of 4 armed Krelian refugees who spoke no English and had 3 small children. Kira talked about her engineering classes at the community college. She was excelling in her studies. Her professor had commented that she had a natural gift for mechanical design. The precision work that required steady hands and careful thought suited her perfectly. She was learning to build things instead of just fixing them. Creating something new from raw materials gave her a sense of purpose she had not felt since losing her home. After dinner, Sophie went to video call her friend Katie. The 2 girls had become inseparable since the Draxor attack. Katie's family had been among the neighbors who helped that night. The shared experience had bonded them. Danny and Kira cleaned up together in comfortable silence. This too had become routine, the easy partnership of shared household tasks. "I got an interesting call today," Danny said as he dried dishes. "From the Valari embassy." Kira looked up sharply. The Valari government in exile had established a small diplomatic presence on Earth, a handful of survivors working to rebuild their civilization from scattered refugee communities across the galaxy. "What did they want?" she asked. "They want to meet you. They said you're one of the few Valari witnesses who survived and made it somewhere safe. They want to document your testimony officially." For the War Crimes Tribunal, Kira set down the plate she was washing. Her hands shook slightly. "The tribunal is actually happening?" "It is. The Galactic Council has agreed to prosecute Draxor leadership for the genocide. Your testimony could be part of that. But only if you're willing." They said there's no pressure. Kira was quiet for a long moment. Speaking about what happened meant reliving it, meant describing the deaths of her family in clinical detail for legal records. It would be painful, but it would also mean that her people's suffering would not be forgotten. That the Draxor would face consequences. That maybe, just maybe, it would make future genocides harder to execute. "I'll do it," she said quietly. "I have to. For my family. For everyone who did not make it out." Danny put a hand on her shoulder. "I'll go with you if you want. For support." "Thank you," Kira said. "I would like that." They finished the dishes. Danny made tea, and they sat on the couch together. This had become another ritual. Evening tea and quiet conversation before bed. "Do you ever regret it?" Kira asked suddenly. "Helping me?" Everything that happened after? Danny looked at her in surprise. Regret it? Why would I regret it? You were hurt. Your apartment was destroyed. Kira, my life got better because of you. Yeah, there were some rough moments. But look at where we are now. I have a job I actually care about. Sophie has a sister. You're safe and building a future. How could I regret any of that? But you could have just walked past me that night. It would have been easier. Easier isn't always better, Danny said. He sipped his tea thoughtfully. You know what Sophie asked me last week? She asked if I thought we were making a difference. With the refugee work. With helping people like you. What did you tell her? I told her about something my grandmother used to say. She grew up in a time when helping the wrong people could get you in serious trouble. But she did it anyway. She used to say that you can't change the whole world, but you can change the whole world for one person. That's what we did for you. And now, you're helping us change the world for others. Kira felt tears prick at her eyes. Your grandmother sounds wise. She was. She would have liked you. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Kira spoke again. The Valari embassy also asked me something else. They're organizing resettlement efforts, planning to terraform a new world for our people. They asked if I wanted to be part of it, to help rebuild our civilization. Danny's face became carefully neutral. What did you tell them? I told them I would think about it. But Danny, I need you to know something. Even if I go, even if I help with the resettlement, Earth will always be my home too. You and Sophie will always be my family. Nothing changes that. Does that mean you're considering going? Eventually, maybe. Not now. I have too much to learn here first. But someday I want to help my people. I want to use the education Earth is giving me to build something for the Valari. A new beginning. Danny smiled. It was a sad smile but a proud one too. That's good. That's what you should do. Build something beautiful. Honor your people's memory by creating a future for them. I learned that from you, Kira said. You lost Sophie's mother. Your life fell apart. But you did not give up. You built a new life. A good life. You taught me that survival isn't enough. You have to build beyond survival. You have to create meaning from the pain. Well, Danny said, his voice rough with emotion. You're a good student. They finished their tea. Sophie came out to say goodnight and hugged them both. After she went to bed, Kira and Danny stayed up a while longer, talking about small things. The weather, the upcoming weekend, a movie they wanted to watch, normal things, safe things, the kind of comfortable conversation that only happens between people who know each other deeply. Finally, they said goodnight and went to their separate rooms. Kira lay in her bed, looking at the ceiling. Her room was small, but it was hers. She had decorated it with posters Sophie helped her pick out. She had books on the shelf that Danny bought her. She had clothes in the closet and photos on the desk. She had a home. 3 months ago she was dying in an alley, convinced that the galaxy had no place for her. That humans were violent, and Earth was cruel. And she would never feel safe again. She had been so wrong. Yes, humans could be fierce. Yes, they came from a planet that tried to kill them daily. Yes, they had built weapons and fought wars and did terrible things to each other. But they also did this. They also opened their homes to strangers. They also fought assassins to protect refugees. They also chose compassion, when indifference would have been easier. The galaxy called them Deathworlders, and meant it as a warning. But to Kira, it meant something different. It meant humans understood death intimately enough to value life fiercely. It meant they had survived enough suffering to recognize it in others. It meant they were strong enough to be gentle. Her translator had finally been properly repaired last week. It worked perfectly now, capturing every nuance of language. But Kira found she used it less and less. She preferred to speak English directly, to fumble through phrases and make mistakes and learn. It felt more real that way. More human. That thought made her smile. More human. When had she started thinking of human traits as aspirational? Since the night a single father saw her shivering in an alley and offered his jacket without knowing anything about her except that she needed help. Since a 10-year-old girl fixed her translator and shared her books and called her sister without hesitation. Since Agent Gray chose to bend the rules because the rules were not serving justice. Since a whole community rallied around a refugee family because they believed that protecting the vulnerable was what good people did. Kira closed her eyes and let herself drift toward sleep. Tomorrow she would wake up and make breakfast. She would go to her engineering class and learn about thermodynamics. She would come home and help Sophie with homework. She would have dinner with her family. Her family. The word still felt new and precious. In a few weeks she would give her testimony to the tribunal. She would speak for her people, for those who could not speak for themselves. It would be hard, but Danny would be there. And that would make it bearable. Someday, maybe years from now, she would help terraform a new Valari homeworld. She would use everything Earth taught her to build something lasting. She would create beauty from ashes, just as Danny had taught her. But for now, she was exactly where she needed to be. In a small apartment on a death world, with a family who chose her, with a future that looked bright despite the past's darkness. She had come to Earth hopeless and hungry. A single human father gave her warmth and food. But he gave her so much more than that. He gave her proof that kindness existed in the universe, that some beings would sacrifice for others without expecting anything back. That family was not about blood or species, but about choosing to care. The galaxy feared humans because they were dangerous. The galaxy was right to fear them, but not for the reasons they thought. Humans were dangerous to those who preyed on the weak. Humans were dangerous to those who profited from suffering. Humans were dangerous to anyone who thought might made right. Because humans, especially human parents protecting their chosen family, would fight with everything they had, would stand against impossible odds, would face down alien assassins with nothing but a wrench and sheer stubborn will, and they would win. Not because they were stronger, but because they were fighting for something worth dying for: love, family. The simple right of every being to be safe and fed and warm. Kira drifted to sleep with a smile on her face. Tomorrow was another day. Another chance to learn and grow and become the person her family believed she could be. The human family who saw an alien refugee and thought, she needs help, instead of, she's not my problem. That made all the difference. That changed everything. That saved the whole world for one desperate Valari girl. And maybe, just maybe, it would change the galaxy too. One act of kindness at a time, one family choosing love over fear, one human deciding that the right thing was always worth doing, no matter how hard. That was humanity's real strength. That was their true danger. Not their capacity for violence, but their capacity for compassion. Their refusal to look away from suffering. Their determination to protect and nurture and build even in the face of destruction. Kira fell asleep grateful. Grateful to be alive. Grateful to be home. Grateful for the gift of a second chance given freely by people who owed her nothing and asked for nothing in return. Hopeless and hungry she had been. Then a human single dad gave her warmth and food. And in doing so, he gave her back her life, her hope, her future. She would spend the rest of that life making sure his kindness rippled outward, making sure other desperate people found the help she had found, making sure the galaxy learned what she had learned, that humans, for all their dangers and contradictions, were capable of extraordinary love. And that love, in the end, was the strongest force in the universe.